I am so excited today to show you a new Google Classroom feature. It is called Practice Sets. If you do not have practice sets yet enabled for your classroom domain, you can go to Google for Education and express your interest in the new beta Practice Sets. I'm going to go over here and show you all about using practice sets. Over here in Google Classroom, I'm going to go to the 3 lines menu and I'm going to select practice sets. This is how it will look if you have practice sets available to you. Once I open up practice sets, you can see the practice sets that I have already created. I'm going to show you this one here. I have titled it Solve Word Problems with Add, Subtract, Multiply, and Divide. Over here you can see that I have opted for my students to have to write in an answer. But there's more that you can do. I will show you to edit so that you can see all of the features. First thing that I will show you is that when you add a new question or a text, you can add more instructions for your students. So I added this text, show your work and label your answers. So this is a little bit different from Google Forms. You're going to be able to see your students showing their work on their problems, not on a piece of scratch paper, no, right within these practice sets. When I scroll down, I can see that I can set my answer to be a short answer where they have to type in their response or write in their response, and it's auto graded. So it's auto scored the second that they put in their answer. I can also choose single select if it's a multiple choice and there's only one right answer. I would click in the little checkbox to designate which of those in the multiple choice responses is correct. I could also choose a multi-select so that there's more than one checkbox to be correct. In my answer right now, I have selected short answer. I could also choose paragraph, but that's not auto-scored. When I scroll down, they have to write in 57 gummy bears. My objective today is not only that they work on their word problems, but they label their answers. So they have to get the number right and the label correct. That is why in my instructions I said label your answers. If your objective is just to get the number right, you could take out the gummy bears part out. In my gear up at the top, I can allow ignoring capitalization. So if they put everything in caps or use some capitals, some lowercase, I can turn that on or off, but spelling is still going to be important. So again, if this is not your objective, then you could take out the gummy bears part and just have the number. I can also allow for equivalent answers. But now I can try this as a student to see if what I have intended is showing exactly the way I want it to as a student. So you'll want to do this before assigning it to your students to make sure everything works as intended. Here's how it will look for my students. It looks exactly like it did on when I was creating it, except that the answers are blank. There's a checkbox here, which I can check the answer. The student can click there and see if their response is correct or incorrect. Now remember I told you they had to have the word gummy bears in there. So if all of they did was put the number, watch what it does. It's incorrect. It's incorrect because my instructions said label your answers. Over here, I also said show your work. This is where I was telling you there's no more paper and scratch sheet paper or whiteboards or whatever. It's right here. So they can type in their work right here, or and you will have to show them this, if they click on that scribble, now they can actually draw. So depending on the age of your students, you can decide if this is going to be age appropriate to write it like this or type it. And you can show them how to toggle that on or off. Now over here, it had marked it wrong and I could say, yeah, but I checked my work and it is 57. Go back and read the instructions again. Label your answers. So instead, in the instructions, I said using correct spelling from the question. So the word gummy bears is there. All they would need to do is come down and copy that response from the question. Now I can go back and check the answer again, and it's correct this time. The other thing you'll want to check is that the skills that you put in there are bringing up that are going to be helpful. So sometimes you have to play with this. Maybe your terms didn't exactly bring up the right kind of help. I'm looking for subtraction strategies because a lot of kids in my class wouldn't regroup and they would just put a 3 down here because they would forget to go back and borrow. So I want to make sure that my help is addressing those kinds of mistakes. Once I have adjusted my form exactly the way I want to and my practices is exactly the way I want to, I can go back and click done editing, and I want to assign this to my students. I'll show you how to do that. And I'm going to assign this. I'm going to go into classwork because practice sets are assignments. So you'll need to remember that. When you create it, it's not going to show up as practice sets here. It's going to show up on the assignment. So make sure you create an assignment, and now the practice set is showing up right down here. I'm going to click on the practice set that I was just working on and attach it to my class. Once it is attached, notice that it came up with the title. It came up with the practice set. I still need to add my instructions. I know that I'm probably going to need to say this a couple of times to my students that they need to remember to label their answers for this practice sets. I can adjust my points, adjust my due date, assign it a topic, and then assign it. So just like any other assignment in Google Classroom, I'm going to fill out all of those details. You can see that it's right down here under math. I hope you are as excited as I am in using the new practice sets for Google Classroom. I can't wait to start using this with my students.